All right, guys, we are live at the bottom of the hour. I have Dante Centofanti on the line. Dante, you are live on Brandon's World. Can you hear me, man?
Yes, I can. What's up, baby? What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? All right. Hey, let's just jump into it, man. NBA
All right.
playoffs. So, you know, I know you're a big basketball fan. I know you've been really watching all the playoff games. What do you think of it so far?
Um, well, going into this postseason, I said, and I said this multiple times on Victory Formation, that the NBA playoffs right now has gotten a bad rep for like the competitive level that it has. Because I was looking at the bracket, well, not the bracket. I was looking at, you know, the whole format of the playoffs and these first round matchups, and I'm like, oh, okay, there could be some noise and there could be, multiple, series. But I'm looking at, let's look at the Sixers and the Nets first. I mean, that series, I know some people, I'm not going to name any names, thought, the Sixers, the sky was falling after they lost game one. And people taking shots at Ben Simmons and, how, oh, he can't shoot and his shooting percentage is awful. I said, just relax. Game two, he's going to put up a triple-double. He did. Game three, without Joel Embiid in Brooklyn, first playoff game for the franchise in what feels like since, the beginning of the Obama administration. It was no problem. He dropped the 30-piece. It was all good. I think the Nets could win today. I could see them winning and tying the series, but the way the Sixers are playing, they're playing hot. Ben Simmons that's playing at this level is scary. And, I think Ben Simmons is starting to come alive, like, as a playoff performer. I really think he's, like, showing out in this series. And I'm really looking forward to, like, how the Sixers do in the semifinal series against the Raptors, because I think that's what we're all looking forward to in the East bracket, like the semifinal matchups, because, I mean, the Raptors are going to sweep the Magic. That's a given. I mean, well, not sweep. They're going to, I think they're in their bag. They're going to, like, go through that series. You look at the Bucks; they're definitely going through the Pistons, and they're going to ball out tonight. I think I cannot see the Pistons winning a game in this series. And the Celtics did their thing last night with Kyrie, and the East looks really, really boring for the moment. But in the next round, trust me, it's going to get really, really, really good.
I'm a big believer in the NBA that talent will pretty much win out. I think if your team has more talent, you should win the series, especially in a 7 game series. That's why I believe Philadelphia is going to make it out of the East because they have 4 All-Stars, and as long as Joel, and again, the big thing will be if Joel Embiid stays healthy.
He
And
will. He'll be fine.
that's why I believe Philadelphia can make it out of the East. I believe they can beat Toronto because I think besides Kawhi Leonard, they don't have anybody ready to take on for the postseason. I think Philadelphia is flat out better than Toronto. I believe actually that Boston's going to knock out Milwaukee. I think experience really does matter. And
Me
like
too.
I said, I think if you take the talent across the board, I realize Milwaukee has Giannis and they have Chris Middleton, who's somewhat of an all-star. But if you take,
Monroe.
but I mean, if you take Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, Jalen Brown, I think that with Brad
Brad
Stevens.
Stevens coaching the team.
Absolutely. That's why I have a feeling the Eastern Conference Finals will be Boston against Philly. And I know Philly has always had their problems against Boston in the past. The difference is this year, Philadelphia has not played a lot with Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons in the lineup together. They've only played 12 games together.
Yeah,
So,
but they're coming in. They're coming in now, though.
right.
They look
That's
they look
that
perfectly
that's what
fine,
I'm
like
saying.
from a chemistry level, a couple nights ago.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I believe if they get hot and they get on a roll, they will make it out of the East. And I believe, to be honest, they would give Golden State somewhat of a problem because of their length.
You think so?
Yes, I've said it all along. To be honest, that's where I thought LeBron should have went. I've been high on Philly for years. I've been high on the way they've done it. I've been high on Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I like Jimmy Butler. I like Tobias Harris. I think Philadelphia is going to be here to stay. I don't like the rumors of the fact people are saying, "Oh, you're going to have to decide between Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid." To me, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid would work well together if Ben
Yeah,
Simmons.
that's an icon. That has the ability. It already is. It's already a great duo, but it has the ability to be a really, really like iconic NBA duo if they can get to the finals and if they eventually win a championship. So, like, I agree with you. I don't see Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid splitting up anytime soon. But I see what you mean about like Philly. Like, but this is the thing. This is my big, supporting factor with Philly. And again, I still think Boston. If depending on how they play against Milwaukee, I still think they could beat the Sixers. They were my preseason Eastern Conference, champion pick, and also my preseason finals pick. But we'll get to that in a minute. I like the way the Celtics, match up with the Sixers. They're definitely not going to, if they potentially play in the conference finals, it's not going to be anywhere close to how the series went last year in the semifinals. Nowhere close. Like, that series will definitely go to 7 games. It'll be a classic, Boston, Philly, Sixers, Celtics, that rivalry is back, and that's always good for basketball, and these two teams are, playing competitively in a playoff series. But other than that, like, I agree with you. The Sixers, the length that they had, the size that they had. The Sixers, to me, going into the postseason, they're the more complete team because, again, Boston, for the majority of the season, they were a hot mess, but they were still, able, they got to, they're a 4th seed in the playoffs. Well, no. Yeah, they're a 4th seed in the playoffs. They're fine. They can't be a disaster. They're just a hot mess. They went into the playoffs with, like, some kind of, momentum, and I thought, okay, if they just have a little bit of momentum, they'll be fine. And right now they have a ton. And they're playing a Pacers team that even without Victor Oladipo, like Brad Stevens said last night, playing after the game, they play the game the right way, and they're playing really, really hard. So I believe like the win that they had last night at Bankers Life Fieldhouse was a really big learning moment, for us with the Celtics because Kyrie was clutch. Like, this is the thing. Kyrie Irving is one of to me, the greatest playoff performers I've ever seen. And the thing about that is I came into this postseason saying, I'm not saying, I never said Kyrie wasn't clutch, but I'm like, people talk about, Kyrie in the playoffs, it's money. And I'm guilty of this. I forgot who he is because, you and me as Cavs fans, we know what this man is capable of game, whether it be in the first round, whether it be in the conference finals, whether it be game 7 of the finals. We know what Kyrie Irving is capable of in huge situations, especially on the road, and you saw that last night. So if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm feeling very, very confident about my chances going forward, whether it be against the Bucks, whether it be against the Sixers or the Raptors, or even the Warriors for that matter.
Well, I mean, I think the difference here is that Kyrie Irving doesn't have a LeBron James as his co-star, and he's still doing it, which shows how great of a player he is. Look, I said when Kyrie left LeBron, I did not think Boston was going to win a championship with just Kyrie Irving because I think that Kyrie Irving needs a LeBron or a Kevin Durant. Not saying he's one of the best players in the league, but I think to win a championship, he needs one of those two guys besides him just because of the way the NBA is structured nowadays. With that being said, I do think Boston's the second best team in the East. Like I said, I'm still on Philly. I don't trust Milwaukee until I see it. I've never
right.
been.
It's too early for me to like. They were a great regular season team, but I completely agree with you. Giannis is going to be. To me, Giannis is the future of the league. Like LeBron's not going to retire anytime soon, but when he retires, Giannis is going to be the best player on the planet, I think. But right now, I'm with you. I'm not so quick to label them, Eastern Conference champions like some people. I'm not going to name any names, but I do a radio show with them. Are.
No, I mean I'm not big on Milwaukee. I would actually be higher on Toronto than Milwaukee if I didn't see Kyle Lowry completely choke like the last 4 or 5 years in the playoffs. I mean we saw it in Game 1 this year against Orlando. If Kawhi Leonard had a decent number 2 to rely on, I'd probably pick Toronto over Milwaukee because I think Toronto's the better coach team. I think that they have more depth. Problem is, besides Kawhi Leonard, you can't trust anybody in that Toronto team.
You're right. Like, this is the thing about Serge Ibaka. I love Serge Ibaka, but, you never know when his fuse is going to blow. His fuse is going to blow, and he's going to want to, Mike Tyson somebody like we saw, at the Q one time this season. And also, I agree with you with Kyle Lowry. Like, I love Kyle Lowry, but, even last night, I was watching in the newsroom before we did Sports Corner 2.0, and even though the Raptors had a 6-point lead, I think, with, a minute 2:24, I think, to go, Kyle Lowry, pulled up. I even, felt, nervous with Kyle Lowry with the ball, even though the Raptors had a 6-point lead with 1:25 left. That's, the point where I'm at with Kyle Lowry, in, clutch or playoff situations. He's just the thing about the Raptors in the playoffs is coming into this postseason, I wanted to root for the Raptors. I wanted to see, the Raptors. It would be really cool for the NBA to see the Raptors in the finals. Okay, the Raptors, the thing about the Raptors is, especially if that is like one of the coolest like NBA franchises. Like in our lifetime, the coolest NBA franchises, every generation has them. Like if you were a baby boomer, the coolest NBA franchises were the Celtics and the Lakers. You just had two. If you were in the 80s, it was the Pistons, nationally popular teams that were like brands that you would wear snapback hats, but you weren't a fan of the team. You see what I'm saying? The Raptors are one of those teams, because of, the great promoting and marketing of, Aubrey Drake Graham. But it would be really, really good, other than that, to see a Canadian and NBA team get to the finals. And I think the Raptors are a team that's capable of getting to the finals, but if Kyle Lowry does not show up, they're not going to beat the Sixers. And it's like you said, they have great depth. This team is capable of beating the Sixers. I don't think they will, but if they want to, Kyle Lowry needs to have a higher shooting percentage. He needs to drop points. He needs to drive to the basket like he's done all regular season. I need to see point simply more from Kyle Lowry.
All right, let's switch gears to the West because this is where you're going to disagree with me. I know you've probably seen my Twitter feed with a lot of people over the last week because I've been very, 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 very critical of one player who wears the number 0 on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The way I look at it, they're down 2-1 to Portland, and they should be. I don't care about seeding. Like I just said, in the NBA, to me, if you have more talent, you should win the series. Oklahoma City, to me, should be up 2-1 in this series. And I don't care how well Russell Westbrook plays, and I don't care about Paul George's injury or whatever. Oklahoma City should win this series, and at the end of the day, to me, this is just another classic example of Russell Westbrook putting all of his energy into the regular season, and then once he gets to the postseason, being knocked out early.
Yeah, this is the thing about Russell Westbrook. And again, Brandon, you and everybody else that's critical of him. He hit it. I just wanted, and I retweeted this today, and I want you to I want to know if you know this. He hit a very, very, very big time 3-point shot at the end of regulation last night, or near the end of regulation last night. Very, very clutch. He hit a 3. He hit a clutch 3-point shot. Russell Westbrook hit one. Just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Okay. And your point is?
And my point is, Russell Westbrook continues to get disrespected. But this is one thing I want to talk about Russ, because last night he did something that I thought, honestly, yes, for the first time ever, I think Russell Westbrook did something like disrespectful. Because I've been a big supporter of Russ. I don't know if you read the column I wrote in the Stater about, how the media and the public continues to disrespect him and he should not tolerate this. But last night from the Oklahomian, sorry, I can't talk today. Asked him a question about the pace of play or something, and he just said next question. And and it goes back to the point where Stephen A's talked about it, and I've talked about this too. Journalists needing you could say I don't want to answer the question, but don't just say next question or don't ask me that question. It was a perfectly valid question. The reporter after him asked Paul George, "Why did you dunk at the end?" That was a stupid question. I can understand Paul George saying next question there, but anyway. Well, I want to ask you this though. You said that the Thunder, you're alluding to the fact that the Thunder are so much better than the Blazers. I don't think that. I picked the Blazers to win the series in 7. The Blazers, and this is the thing, Jokic, praying for him. This is the thing with the Blazers, though. In past postseasons, they have had talent. CJ and Dame, to me, it's the most underrated duo in the history of basketball. Most underrated duo. All they needed was a third piece, a big man, and they never had that. That's why they never got far in the postseason. That's why you only know the Blazers as, in terms of playoff moments recently. Damian Lillard hitting that really, really clutch 3 on Dwight Howard, those Dwight Howard Rockets, with Mike Tirico on the call. That's the only playoff memory you have of, the Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Trailblazers era team. Those are the only memories you have. But this year, Jusuf Nurkic, if he wasn't hurt, I think that the Blazers could really, really – I don't think that they could beat the Warriors, but they could really, 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 test their patience. Is what I'm saying. And they brought in Enes Kanter, who's one of my favorite people in sports, to, pick up the slack for Jusuf. And he's, he's really filling in, the voids that Yusuf Nurkic had. Like, he was getting rebound after rebound after rebound all season. And in game one, Ennis had, an unbelievably, great rebounding and, scoring game. And I believe in the Raptors. I believe in what they've got. They're well coached. I mean, the Rose Garden is a very, very hard place to play in the postseason, like historically. And, I think you're shortchanging the Trailblazers, Brandon. I really do. They're a good team.
I'm just going off track record in the postseason. I don't care. They basically brought the same team back last year, and they got swept by a worse team in New Orleans. And if I'm going roster for roster, I'll take the free trio of Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Steve Adams over Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, and either Nurkic or Kanter, whichever center was in there. I just believe that if Russell Westbrook is this great player that everybody points him to, because everybody acts like he should be in the MVP conversation and he's a top 5 NBA player, they should win this series. If they don't win this series, I have the right to criticize Westbrook and,
Okay, but...
No,
okay, but
the thing is,
right.
everybody makes this whole thing about Russell Westbrook. Everybody feels bad for Russell Westbrook because isn't this?
It feels like
everybody does to me because everybody comes to his defense, and I'm the only one sitting here. Me and a couple people in the media. It's not like everybody, but it's just you're sitting there going, "Oh, poor Russ. Russ doesn't have enough help. Russ doesn't this. KD left Russ." Blah, 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 blah. Prove it, man. They should be the third best team in the Western Conference. They have better talent than everybody except for Houston and Golden State. They should represent the West this year in the Western Conference Finals because they caught a break that Houston was the 4 seed. Because Houston and Golden State are going to play in the second round. So whoever wins the Spurs-Nuggets series, which I believe will be the Spurs, Oklahoma City is better than San Antonio. They should win that series too.
If Oklahoma City plays the Spurs, which, I mean, all signs are pointing to that they are, right?
Yes.
All signs are pointing there. I think the Spurs could beat the Thunder. Like, I think the Spurs can really beat the Thunder. Again, the Spurs, like, this is how great the West is, man. The Spurs look, did you see Derek White in Game 3? Like, they have, like, Greg Popovich can just, like, take these players in the postseason and they'll just turn into stars and then they'll go into the following season. We've seen that with Kawhi Leonard and they'll become, like, elite, like, top 10 players. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Derek White. I think we're jumping the gun there, but, he's a great player. The Spurs have so much, like, they don't have, like Golden State Warriors talent. And yes, the Thunder are more talented on paper than, say, the Spurs. But again, I think you're shortchanging the Spurs too, man.
No, I'm not. I believe the Spurs are better than Denver. I believe that they have more talent than Denver. They have 2 All-Stars versus Denver 1. I think OKC would have more talent than Denver. OKC would have more talent than San Antonio. I actually believe Portland would have more talent than San Antonio. San Antonio has 2 All-Stars in DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. Portland has borderline 3. OKC has 3 perennial All-Stars. That's like I told you before at the start of this conversation. In my opinion, just take All-Stars in the NBA because the NBA is literally all about talent. Coaching matters somewhat, but it's the least amount of coaching matters in all sports. If you have a great player, you should win basketball games. That's just how I feel, and I believe that's how most people feel.
I mean, you're not wrong. Russ needs to show up in the postseason. I agree with you there. I love Russell Westbrook. I'm a big defender of Russell Westbrook as a player and how he's treated by people in the media, but I think, the debate we're having is just him as a player. I know that. So let's just keep this on him as a player. As a player, you are absolutely correct. He needs to show up more in the postseason, but he showed up last night. Don't tell me
last night, but he needs to do that more. I don't see it consistently.
Okay, all right, you're right though. But let me ask you this, because last postseason, the Jazz series, and he said about Ricky Rubio, outplaying. He's like, he said, we're going to shut that shit down. That is what he said. And then following that, and then throughout the series, even though they lost, Russ was just boom, 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 boom. And I feel like that series was like the classic, like, exhibit that, like people who say Russell Westbrook's a stat pattern, that's the exhibit they're going to use because, yes, he was balling out statistically, but they lost. Last night he was balling out, and they won a very, very huge game 3 at home in the series. Now, if he can do that in game 4 again, which I really hope that he does, and which I'm sure you think he needs to do, as do I, it's not going to put like what people like you are saying to bed, even though you're right. But he needs, like, if Russell Westbrook really, and he doesn't care what people think about him, and he shouldn't. But if he really wants to like put away this notion that I cannot come up big in playoff series, he needs to win this series. But even if he does win this series, because people undervalue like how good the Blazers are, nobody's gonna get off his back. I think if he beats the Spurs, people will get off his back. If he can lead the Thunder to the Western Conference Finals, and if they can take the Warriors to at least 6 games, do you think that will your negativity start to fade with Russell Westbrook?
Absolutely. And Dante, I do want to let you know that we have about 9 minutes left. So if you want to get in any other topic, go ahead and fire away.
Tim Anderson getting suspended yesterday.
I did not hear about that.
The White Sox. The scuffle that the White Sox players and the Royals got into?
I did not hear about that at all. Go ahead and enlighten me.
Well, Jeff Passan from ESPN reported that the Royals pitcher, I'm sorry, I don't know why, but I forget his name, suspended him for 5 games, but they suspended Anderson for 1 game in what they called, because Tim Anderson used a racial epithet in the fight. Like he called the pitcher a weak, blank, N-word.
Okay.
And I think it's ridiculous how he got suspended because, and I was watching I was watching PTI yesterday, and I saw, well, not yesterday, this morning, because, I had to do the newscast. I couldn't watch PTI. And I'm watching it this morning before, I called in on your radio show. And Michael Wilbon, being the icon in sports journalism that he is, my idol, broke this down perfectly. He said, I'm sick and tired of, with this type of issue, he said, it's not for white America and it's not for white people in sports to dictate what black athletes can say to one another. And I completely agree with him. And to be honest with you, in multiple cases that Major League Baseball has had with dealing with white players having racism, they don't do it nearly as harsh with penalties as they should. But in Anderson's case, he said the N-word 1 time in a fight, and again, like I said, it's not our place to say what, people of color can and cannot say. And I completely agree with Michael Wilbon. Charles Barkley has alluded to this. And the fact that he's suspended like today really, really, or whichever next time the White Sox are going to play, really, really bothers me. I just wanted to get that off my chest. It really bothers me. It's unfair to him.
So I'm just trying to get the story straight here. So he said that word in the fight and got suspended 5 games? Is that what happened?
No. The pitcher got suspended 5 games for fighting. Anderson, who was one of the people fighting, got 1 game because he used
gotcha.
the N-word.
And you're saying he shouldn't have been suspended at all?
No, because again, like I said, it's not our place to tell Black America what they can or cannot say. That's how I feel. We should just stay out of it, and that's what Michael Wilbon was alluding to yesterday on PTI, and I absolutely saw. I have sensitivity for what he said, and he was right. He made a lot of sense, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I will.
And I just wanted to get that off my chest. So, do we still have time?
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes. Let's jump in really quick to the NFL schedule. I think the NFL schedule is very, very important. People underestimate how important the NFL schedule is. The most important out of all the schedules. It's not who you play; it's when you play them. And when I look at this Browns schedule, Dante, let me tell you, I think early on is a little hard. I think they could lose like 2 out of their first 5 games, but then after that, it's a really good schedule for them, especially down the stretch. What do you have the Browns going?
In the newsroom, I went before because we broke down the schedule last night on Sports Quarter 2.0. I think I agree with you. It's a little rough at first, but it's like I said last night. they're playing AFC East teams. Outside of the Patriots, all of those games to me are wins. All of those games are wins. This is the thing, though. I could see them having emotionally draining wins. Like, I think they're going to beat the Rams on Sunday Night Football, but it's going to be an emotionally draining win. It's going to be really high scoring, and it's going to be, a really hard-fought win. And then the week after, they play the Ravens on the road. And I could see them, laying an egg in that game and just, getting humbled a bit and losing. And then, they play the 49ers on Monday Night Football. I could see them winning that game. I cannot see them losing back-to-back games this season. This isn't a team that I think is going to lose back-to-back games. But it's like I've been saying, attitude. Like, Baker Mayfield has an attitude of an athlete that I really, really have never seen. And it's literally how he describes it. It's a dangerous attitude. Like, it's like all systems go. Like, it's all systems go with the Browns right now as an organization, and I feel good about this. This team is definitely capable of winning more than 10 games. This team is more than capable of winning the division. And it's definitely, to me, a playoff team, without question.
Give me your prediction on record, and then I'll respond.
13-3.
Okay, I have them going
13-3.
I have them going 12-4. What losses do you have them?
Like I said, the Ravens. I think they'll lose to the Seahawks. And see, what other loss do I have? Yeah, Ravens, Seahawks, and I think they'll lose to. I think they're going to sweep the Steelers because I made a bet with Ben Pagani of TV2, and I have to stick to that. I think they'll sweep the Steelers. I can see them losing to the 49ers. I know I just said they'll win that game, but I think I could see them losing that game.
That's interesting because here are the losses I have. At the Jets on Monday Night Football. That's an early game. Everybody forgets. You know who their defensive coordinator is? Everybody. It's Greg Williams. He knows that personnel. The Jets are going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
That's their home opener. The Jets are going to beat the Browns in that game.
This is the thing about the Jets. The Jets, despite their ugly new uniforms, they're like the Browns. They're coming into this season very, very improved. Like, I think the Jets are a dark horse to make the playoffs. They're definitely not winning the East, but they could definitely make the playoffs. So,
and
yeah,
I
you're
agree
right. I can see them losing that game.
Then I have them losing to San Francisco. Like we said, that's a possibility. I have them losing to New England. In New England, I think they absolutely lose that game. To me, there's no way they win that game. And then at Pittsburgh, I have them losing.
But I don't think there's. I think they're going to be New England. I think looking at first, I'm like, but no. I think they're going to beat the Patriots.
I think that's some of your fandom in you. To be honest,
No,
I do.
No. I can just see it in my head, Brandon. I can just see it in my head. It's a beautiful sight.
If it was, yeah, exactly. That's the fandom in you. A beautiful sight. If it was
just forget I'm a Browns fan. It's just a beautiful sight. Baker Mayfield, the throne being passed.
And again, that's the fandom in you, because other people that aren't Browns fans do not want Baker Mayfield taking the throne from Tom Brady. I guarantee you that.
There's people. There's lots of people.
There's probably some people, but there's other people that, like me, would choose Patrick Mahomes or Carson Wentz or Andrew Luck or Deshaun Watson, or we have a plethora of young NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, we do, but I have my quarterback, and I'm going to roll with my quarterback, who's Baker Mayfield. All those guys are great, but I have one too, and it's Baker Mayfield.
All right. I'll give you that. And then I do have them losing one game to Pittsburgh. I don't think they sweep Pittsburgh. I think people are underestimating Pittsburgh a lot. I think the Browns playoffs. And by the way, I have the 3-6 seed matchup right now in the AFC wildcard. Pittsburgh going to Cleveland.
That would be. Oh, my God. That would be one of the most monumental sporting events in the history of Cleveland, Brandon. Like, do you understand that? That would be one of the most monumental
I do.
moments in sports history for the city.
All right, Dante, with that being said, I got to run. Thanks for calling in, man. Call in at any time.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Thanks. Take care, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Brandon Lewis from Brandon's World here. Make sure you leave a like and comment right down below. And make sure you check out the show every Saturday from 10 to noon on BuckStowRadio.com, the TuneIn app, or right here on the YouTube channel. Thanks, and you guys already know. See ya! It's out of here. It's Brandon's World.